My name is Keshwani. That's Keshwani. Keshwani. We are here because we want to prepare for SAT. We have been solving SAT math problems out of this book here, Official SAT Study Guide. If you do not own this book already, purchase one immediately. You're going to need it. The problems that we are about to solve are the ones that you will find on page number 400. Today is our lesson number 4. Let's take a look at them. The very first one, number 15. We're given a picture here. Looks something like this. We have a line AB that goes something like this. It goes through the origin, and here is the point A, and we are told that the coordinates are P and R. We are told that the coordinates of point A are P and R, as we just showed. X coordinate is P, the Y coordinate is R. We are also told that the absolute value of P is greater than the absolute value of R. Because you see, P is going to be a negative number because we are in the negative portion of the x-axis. The question simply is, what is the slope of this line? That's all they want to know. What is the slope of this line? Well, the first thing we should notice here is the fact that this is this a positively sloped line, or is it a negatively sloped line? A positively sloped line should look something like this. This is a positively sloped line. This, on the other hand, is a negatively sloped line. This is a negatively sloped line. Since we are looking for the slope of the line, any answer choice that shows a positive value is nonsensical. It cannot have a positive slope. It's a negatively sloped line. Let's see what we can get rid of right away. Right off the bat, we can kill C, D, and E. C says it has a slope of 0. A slope of 0 is a horizontal line. What does slope mean? What does slope measure? Slope measures the steepness of the line. And if the line is just flat, it has no steepness. Another way of saying the same thing is that the slope of this line is 0. Slope of this line is 0. Listen, I'm getting too much into nitty-gritty. I don't want to. We are here to solve the problem on the page here. We're not here to take elementary lessons in elementary concept of geometry. If you are one of those people who is weak in geometry, if you need extra help in it, it is there. It is at my channel. If you need help in geometry, go to my channels and look for geometry videos. Just type in geometry for SAT and you will find a whole bunch of videos, about 60 of them, which will cover the basic concepts of geometry. Do you understand? That was the whole point of making separate videos for the so that we don't have to spend time here discussing elementary things. Because then I'm taking the chance of boring the hell out of people who already do understand these concepts. So anyway, it's a negatively sloped line. The answer cannot be C because it says the slope is 0. It cannot be D or E because it has a positive value. It's either A or B. And what the slope is has to do with the fact that we are told that the positive value of P is greater than the positive value of R. How do we measure slope? Slope is measured as change in Y over the change in X. So if you go from here, from the origin to point A, this distance here is your change in Y, which is represented by R. And we are told that this absolute value of R is less than the absolute value of P. And the X coordinate, this P here, is from here to here. And that's the change in X. Going from the origin to point A, the change in X is from 0 to this guy right here, which is negative P. But we take the absolute value of it, and we are told that the absolute value of P is greater than the absolute value of R. In other words, what they're telling us is that, the bottom is more than the top. The denominator is higher than the numerator. That's another way of saying that it is less than 1. The slope is less than 1 in the absolute value. Do you understand? Therefore, it cannot be negative 2. We're measuring slope here in the absolute terms now. It's a less than 1 value. Therefore, You understand what I mean by less than 1, because the answer choices are A and B and they are both negative, so obviously they are both less than 1, but we are measuring right now in the absolute term. In the absolute term, the slope is less than 1, which is half, whereas in A it's a negative 2, and the absolute value of that, if you were to measure the slope in absolute term, that would have been 2. The slope is not 2. In order for it to be 2, the top has to be more than the bottom. The answer is B. The answer is B. Let's take a look at the next one. Number 16. In number 16 we are told that 3a plus 4b equals b. And the question simply is, how much is 6a plus 6b? Well, let's subtract b from both sides. If we subtract b from both sides, we end up with 3a plus 3b equals, and this positive b will cancel out with this negative b and will end up with 0. So here we see that 3a plus 3b equals 0, a big fat 0. So if you were to multiply both sides here, if 3a plus 3b equals 0, if you were to multiply both sides of the equation by 2, we will have our 6a plus 6b. And what do you suppose that will be? If 3a plus 3b is 0, then so is 6a plus 6b is 0. Because 0 times 0, 0 times 2 is 0. So the answer is 0. Answer is 0 because 3a plus 3b equals 0, therefore a plus b is equal to 0. And therefore 6 times a plus b would be 0. Let's do the next one, number 17. Number 17, now we're getting into nitty-gritty. That's a level 4 question. If you don't understand what I meant by that, level 4, you see, when I'm teaching the SAT math part, not just myself, but most people would have a tendency to speak in terms of easy, medium, and hard. The level of difficulty they will refer to as easy, medium, and hard. We'll break them down into 3 levels. The College Board, the people who give you the exam, the ETS, it is known as ETS, or the College Board, which is owned by ETS, they do not like to speak in terms of easy, medium, and hard. They want to be cute. They break down the difficulty level of a question in 5 grades. And they put a level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, level 5. If you still do not know what I'm talking about, if you turn to the answer key on page number, if you turn to page number 494, page 494, that's where the answer key is. Next to each answer choice, they will give you the difficulty level, and you will see that it goes from 1 to 5. This is the problem that we are about to do. Number 17 is the level 4. It is no longer an easy question. It's far from being an easy question. It is no longer a medium question. Now we're getting into hard level, hard category. 4 and 5 are nasty. Think like that. 1 and 2 are easy. Level 3 are medium. 4 and 5 are a little tricky. Let's take a look at it. Enough said. You're not going to be intimidated by it just because it's hard. We are told that this distance is 10 root 2. This distance is 10 root 2, so it's an isosceles triangle. We are told that this is a right angle. Before we go any further, we're going to figure out the bottom part, because we're going to need that. Let's find out the bottom part. So what I want you to do now, let's give, they already gave the name. I was about to say, let's give these vertices name. But they have given the names already. Let's christen them A, B, C. What I want you to do now is, in your mind, I want you to picture. Now I want you to pick it up and rotate it so that it looks like this. So that it looks like this. So if you were to pick it up, it will be A, B, and C, and the right angle will be at, and there we go. You see? And this side is equal to that side because we are told this is 10 root 2, and this is 10 root 2. Now here's the tricky part. This is what makes this question confusing. This is what makes this question hard. Just pay very close attention, otherwise you will get lost. Because people have a tendency of making assumptions. Okay, first let me explain to you the simple scenario. Ordinarily, when we look at an isosceles triangle, ordinarily, when we look at the isosceles triangle, if this side is 1 and if this side is 1, how do we figure out this side? This hypotenuse would simply be x squared equals 1 squared plus 1 squared, which is 2, and therefore x would be root 2. And we are taught that. We are taught that in an isosceles triangle, the side come in this ratio. So if this side is k, and if this side is k, this side would be k times root 2, whatever that multiple is. That is not the case here. Here they are being very cute by throwing in root 2 on the legs. Root 2 does not appear on the hypotenuse, it appears on the legs. But it shouldn't bother us. We'll solve this triangle just like we would solve any right angle triangle by simple application of Pythagorean theorem. So this is our hypotenuse. Let's call this guy x. So again, x squared would be equal to the square of this guy, 10 times root 2 squared, plus the square of this guy, 10 times root 2 squared. This is 10 times root 2. Now, root 2 squared is simply 2. I hope you know that. Taking the square root of a number and taking the square of it, they negate each other. These two operations are opposite of each other. It's like addition and subtraction. It's like multiplication and division. If I take a number and multiply it by a certain number and then divide by the same number, I'm going to end up with what I started out with. Same thing here. So that's just 2. And then square of 10 is 100. So it's 100 times 2 plus 100 times 2, which is 200 plus 200, which is 400. And that's x squared. So x is going to be square root of 400. And I hope you know your square root. I hope you know your squares 1 through 20. There are certain facts that you have to have at your fingertips on the exam if you have any hope of getting a decent score. You should know by heart that 20 square is 400. Otherwise you will end up wasting your time reaching for the calculator. So this is 20. This side is 20. C to A is 20, which is this bottom part here, C to A. It is 20. We just found that it is 20. I'm going to erase the rest of it now so that we don't get confused here. It's getting too crowded. Let's get rid of all of this from here. So that part is 20. This is done. Now let's finish up the rest of the triangle here. It says in the triangle ABC above, EF is parallel to AC. Where is EF? EF is parallel to AC, which we can see that it's bloody obvious. F is the midpoint of BC. F is the midpoint of BC. Okay, so this is a midpoint, which means this equals this, and therefore this equals this. They are all equal to each other. They are all equal to each other. We just found out that this is 20, and because of the symmetry of the whole thing, because it's all symmetric, half the distance from here to here, from here to here is 10, and similarly this is going to be 5, this is going to be 5, this is going to be 5, and this is going to be 5. Because of the symmetry of the whole picture. Because of the fact that it is symmetric, that's all it is. It's divided up into nice 4 parts. 5, 5, 5, 5, because the entire thing we just found out was 20. What else do we know here? Now we have to figure out what this side is going to be. This side well, there is an easy way to do this thing, is to simply realize that that side, this is 10 root 2, therefore from A to E is going to be 10 root 2, let's put it at the bottom here, A to E is going to be 10 root 2 divided by 2, because it's half the distance, which is same as F to C, which is same as 10 root 2 divided by 2 is just 5 root 2. This is 5 root 2. So now I want you to look at this triangle, AE, let's give it a name here. We have F, let's call it G. I want you to look at the triangle AEG. If you look at the triangle AEG, this is 90 degrees. AEG is your regular isosceles triangle. This is 5 times root 2, this is 5, therefore this would have to be 5. Because you see 5 times root 2. 5 times root 2. So this is also 5. What are they asking for? Look, that's it, we're done. So the area of this guy is simply f to, let's call it h here, g to h is 10, g to e to g is 5, and therefore it is 50. The area is 50. The answer is C. This was a nasty one, wasn't it? It was nasty only because if I have to explain everything here, but if you're able to see right away the symmetry in the whole thing, actually it goes quite fast. It goes quite fast. Once you realize, okay, I'm going to go through this one more time very quickly. Once you realize that x is 20, which is from here to here, if this is 20, because of the symmetry, half of that is going to be 10, and therefore half of this distance is half of a to g is half of this distance 10. So this is 5, this is 5, this is 5, and this is 5. Again, because of the symmetry, if this is 5, that would have to be 5 because of the fact that this e is halfway between a to b. Or you can actually do it out like we just did here. It makes a nice isosceles triangle, symmetric isosceles triangle. And that's all there is. Let's do the next one, shall we? Number 18. Number 18. Otherwise we'll be at it all night. In number 18 they're giving us a little chart here, x and f of x. -1, 0 and 1, 1/8, a half and a 2. Again, if you have trouble understanding the concept of function, if nobody ever explained to you what function means, and what does this mean when we say this is read as f of x? If you have trouble with this concept and if you would like to learn this thing in detail, just type in function, just type in the word function and type in my name, Keshwani. And a video will pop right up. Watch that video and you will get a lot out of it. You will have a thorough understanding of what function means. Do you understand? I won't go through it right now. So here we are told that the table above shows some values of the function, which is represented by this relationship, k times a raised to x, where k and a are constant. The question simply is, what's the value of a? Oh, that's pretty straightforward. Let's do it here. We know that when f is 0, when we know that when x is 0, let's start with 0 because it's easy to work with. When x is 0, I shouldn't have written it like this. Let's put it underneath. When x is 0, this guy is going to be k times a raised to 0. Raised to 0. And any number raised to 0, equals 1. These are some basic facts you have to know. Any number raised to 0 equals 1. So this guy is just 1 and therefore it just equals k. F of 0 simply equals k. But what's the value of the function when x is 0? When x is 0, what's the value of the function? It is half. Therefore k must be half. Therefore k must be half. Is that what you were looking for? What's the value of a? Alright, so now we know the value of a, now we know the value of k. Once we know the value of k, we're going to go through the process one more time. This time let's use f of 1. I need the room, so I need to erase everything. Or we can continue here. F of 1 simply means that wherever we see x, we replace it with 1. So it's going to be k times a raised to 1. But we already know what the value of k is. K is half. We just found it. So we substitute in here half times a, because a raised to 1 is just a. And what's the value of function when x equals 1? What's the value of the function when x equals 1? When x equals 1, the value of the function is 2. And that goes here. F of 1, in other words, equals 2. and therefore that 2 must equal half times A. Multiply both sides by 2 and we'll find that this implies that A equals 4. I didn't want to write at the bottom here because I don't know how low you can read there. A equals 4. This was also a nasty one. When we get to level 4 and level 5, they're no longer as straightforward, obviously, which is why they call level 4 and level 5. The next two questions that we will do tomorrow on the next page, they are level 5. And they are a lot of fun. I'm being sarcastic, obviously. I will see you tomorrow, okay? Bye now.